Okay, so we need to talk, or more so, I need to talk and you can choose to listen if you want. If you're not into like talking head videos where a dude just sits there and talks for a while, then feel free to leave. I'm not going to be offended. But if you decide to stay, there's some stuff in this video that might make long subscribers want to not be subscribed anymore. Simply because the channel isn't necessarily going to be the same as it was when they decided to subscribe. And I know it's quite a risk because I've reached over 400 subscribers now, which I honestly never thought was going to happen. Regardless, the channel's gone through changes, quite a few of them actually, and I haven't said anything on the channel about them. I just made the changes, planned on talking about them, but I wasn't sure it was time because I was sure there was going to be more changes and perhaps I was just going to end up losing interest in making videos altogether, because that's happened in the past. I've had many YouTube channels before of all different varieties. Vlogging channels, skateboarding channels, channels where I make silly skits and stuff. Point is, I've had a lot of channels. I've dabbled in a lot of different styles and a lot of different like categories of things you can do videos about. And I did genuinely enjoy doing all of them, but budget is something I don't often have. And so when I decided to do videos about a certain thing, I bought what I could afford to buy to make videos on, and then it would get to a point where I'd start having to repeat themes, like going and buying a cheap smartwatch, and then going, ooh, let's do a video about this technology thing. And then I would get another smartwatch, and then I would sit there looking at it and go, I've already done a video like this. A smartwatch that cost $20. And I didn't end up making the video because it was boring. That's kind of sort of what happened with this channel with its original form. So we're going to jump back and forth in time in this video in certain parts, but we're going to start the timeline in this video when this channel first came into existence. I made this channel, I believe, in 2016 to 2017. And I wasn't actually uploading a lot of things on it. I specifically made this channel because I planned on making an animated series. And I wanted to, like, have a place to post the episodes when they were finished. But I also planned on doing short films and other animated stuff. But life was very, very complicated for me around the time that I made this channel. I had just lost my best friend, but I didn't end up making anything on the channel until probably the beginning of 2020, before the thing happened. Went through more after this point, but I'd been through a lot. I had a lot of friends that were supportive, a lot of friends that were not. And I lost a lot of people along the way, either from them passing away or us just drifting apart. And so when 2019, I believe it was 2020 that I uploaded the video. I'd have to check, but I'm pretty sure it was at the beginning of 2020. I'm rambling again. When 2019, assumedly, was ending, I felt like my life was finally starting to get on track. And I realized that I honestly never would have made it through any of the things that I'd been through in my life if it weren't for my friends. And while it seemed like I was doing a plug or trying to sell merch, it was more that I wanted to draw something that showed the people closest to me that I was doing okay, but to make a video about it in some sort of way, to let them know that me being okay was largely in part to them. And I was really awkward on camera because while I did have another channel that I was uploading vlogs on, I was vlogging about kind of my life and a lot of the stuff that was going on. Life was just quite the struggle, and I needed something to distract myself, something that felt a little bit more normal, something that I had control over. So I was just making these videos as sort of I have control over how these videos are edited, what I say in them, and what they're about. And that was the most control that I felt I had in my life. I've always lived in the city, and everywhere I've lived there's always been some big thing that is very upsetting or stressful that happens constantly. Breakup, a friend passing away, being forced out of the place I was living because the landlord was a jerk, or my roommate was a jerk, or some other big thing. And so moving here to a very quiet, what's considered a village, I think, it was kind of strange because it was very quiet. It was very calm. And there was one little hiccup that caused a big stressful situation socially, but it didn't last very long, and when it was gone, everything just returned to peaceful again. And so while I was living here, I felt like there was nothing left to really stress about. Things were getting better, and maybe I could actually focus on doing the things that I used to love doing. And I remembered back when I was a kid, I used to do traditional art a lot more. It was mostly with like Crayola markers and pencil sketching. I never really delved too deeply into the more serious traditional art, but I thought it would be cool to revisit traditional art because I hadn't done it in so long. I have used colored pencils throughout the years, but I never really did that as a main thing. And so I decided it would be fun to delve back into traditional art and see if I could get good at it, because I'd been doing digital art for so long, and while I'm not the most impressive artist on the planet, in fact I consider myself a bit mediocre a lot of the time, I've gotten pretty good at the way that I do it, and I know how I like to draw digitally, but I don't know anything about how I like to do traditional stuff. So I thought it'd be fun to document the process of me delving into traditional art more and trying a bunch of stuff out that I've never tried before. Alcohol-based markers, really nice colored pencils, weird blending markers that are for use with wax-based colored pencils and stuff. And it was fun doing painting. I even tried some other stuff that didn't quite work out as a video. In fact, to prove that point, this little dude right here was supposed to be a video. I went to the dollar store and I bought clay. And I'd actually tried to do another clay sculpting project the year I started making videos, and it really didn't work. So I scrapped the video. I might have footage somewhere. If I do, it's here, I guess. But it failed. And I got so frustrated I didn't even want to look at clay anymore. And I knew it was dollar store clay, and that's probably what the issue was. Very low quality, and I just never got around to buying better clay. Mostly because it's kind of expensive to get enough to really feel like I'd be able to make something really cool that I would really be proud of. A small amount of clay like this, while it's fun and I get to learn some stuff at the end of it, I couldn't be guaranteed I'd feel accomplished. I wanted to get a lot of clay, that way I could practice a little bit and then do something really big and cool. But money, you know? So last year, I decided to give it another go and make it a little bit smaller scale. Originally, I wanted to do a huge diorama of a scene that would have been in my cartoon. And it didn't work, obviously. So I decided, well, we'll shrink the scale this time, and I'll try to do a figurine of the character that would have been in that scene. And that's this little dude here named Vake, who has fallen apart progressively, even though he's just been sitting there. He's just been losing pieces every few months. I come out here and he's missing another chunk of his arm. Could be because the cat goes up there sometimes, which he shouldn't be doing. But, thing is, there's a lot of videos like that where I set out with high expectations for myself and I want to have a lot of fun and do something really big and incredible to me. I don't really expect it to be impressive to anybody, but it's like I like to go big or go home when it comes to new things as well as things I've been doing for a while. I like the challenge. I like pushing myself, and I tend to like to overdo things. And there's a lot of videos, again, that have completely failed and not ended up on the channel, which is another reason why I wasn't doing a lot of videos after a while. Because every video I tried to do would be a complete failure, and as much as I wanted to show my failures, I just couldn't get myself to edit the videos because it was so stressful to watch them back and see all the failures that could have been easily avoided if I just had a little bit more money for better materials. Obviously, there was that time where I was making videos too often, doing like a video a week, and when I hadn't made videos consistently at all in years, diving right into one video a week was a lot to ask of myself. I should have started slower by doing like one a month, but make them like longer and a little bit more interesting, and maybe do multiple different art supplies in that one video so that it felt more worth waiting for, and then over time start to upload 2 a month, 3 a month, and then maybe leave it at 3 a month and give myself a week break so I don't have to upload anything, I don't have to film anything. But of course I didn't do that, and I dived in headfirst like I always do, and I burned myself out. So I took a break and I came back and I tried to do things a little bit more sparingly. But because of that one video a week thing, I was honestly kind of super bored of drawing, period. I was bored of painting, and I didn't even really want to do art anymore, like, period. Like, I was struggling to even draw off camera. So I started playing games, and I thought about making a gaming channel again for the 19th time in my life. And even recently, I was going to start a gaming channel, and I think I might like stream games on my gaming channel once in a while, but it's not going to be that big of a thing. I'm probably not going to do it all that often. But I played some games to kind of just take a breather from the creative and video making thing. I thought about making a gaming channel. I recorded like an episode. No, I recorded 5 episodes of RL Craft, which stressed me out because things kept crashing. That's besides the point. Ended up deleting all the videos that I uploaded of that because I realized I'm not going to keep up with this. I should just play the game to play the game. So I started just playing to play, and I started buying more art supplies in preparation for my comeback from my break. And then I realized that I had over 3,000 colored pencils. I kept buying goodie bags at thrift stores, hoping that I would accidentally run across cool stuff, and I did actually get some really cool stuff that I planned on making a video about, and ended up not doing that. There's still hope for me to do videos like that in the future, but it's going to be less of a me trying things out and more of a me kind of talking about it or using it to make something cool. I'm going to have to figure out how I'm going to change the format of my art videos because I did not like the way I was doing them. I kept trying to change it and it always felt unnatural, and I haven't quite figured out how to naturally just be me while making art. This video here is this is me when I'm talking to people about stuff like this. This is kind of mostly how I am in the world. But so I started making videos again, or at least trying, and the same thing happened. I just feel so bored. The end of last year rolled around, and I found out my mother had cancer. We have always had a very bad relationship, to the point where I wanted nothing to do with my mother, which is why I had cut her off and decided to take care of myself and think of how I feel and tell her to just leave me alone, because as much as I don't like talking about personal crap in my videos, my mother was abusive, and honestly, I let her be that way with me, and I kept forgiving her and going back repeatedly. And long before I found out she had cancer, I told her I was done. It's actually why I wrote that song called I'm Done on this channel in 2022, maybe. And that was kind of like my sign off. Like, I'm done. Leave me alone. I don't want to talk to you anymore. And then I got an email from a family member talking about her being in the hospital. And for the first time in my life, as cold as it sounds to some people, I just didn't care. And that was big to me, because I'd always been that kind of mama's boy thing, where she could say, "Oh, I'm sorry," and I would instantly forgive her and run back. But this time it was like, no, I'm not running back this time. You had your entire life to be good to me and apologize for the things you've done, and you wait. And she didn't message me. It was a family member. So even on her deathbed, she didn't want to make up for anything she did. And I think it was that fact that made me break free from it. So I said, I'm sorry to hear that, but me and my mother don't have a good relationship, so I don't really know what you want from me, because honestly, I didn't care anymore. I was done. And then I found out in January that she did pass away, in fact, and I kind of started imploding the minute I found out about the cancer, but finding out that she did blew me up horridly, and everything I've ever been through in my life as a result of her, and even the stuff that wasn't a result of her, started flooding back. And I didn't know what to do with these feelings. I was so confused as to how I should feel. I mean, like, she's my mother, so technically I should be sad, but at the same time, she was my abuser, so I should be happy, or at least less sad. And throughout my whole life, music has been the thing that I used to deal with those kinds of feelings. So I started to write some songs on my own, off the channel, to kind of get these feelings out. And I hadn't really written a song since I'm Done or Just a Reset. Just a Reset was not a song I did a video about, but I'm Done was. I think I did Just a Reset after I'm Done. That kind of started the snowball of getting back into making music. And then I started really enjoying the process of making music again, realized how much I'd missed it. And because I was in such a bad place, I was trying to think of how am I going to get through this stuff that's going on right now, and all the extra stuff that came along after I found out that she passed away. And I started thinking, throughout my entire life, regardless of what I was going through, regardless of who was hurting me or who I was hurting as a result of being in pain, there was always something there to help me get through it, and it was music. And I remember as a young kid realizing that and deciding that one day I wanted to make my own music so I could tell my story and hope that maybe it inspires somebody else to tell theirs. Because at the end of the day, the best thing you can do for yourself when you're struggling with stuff is to talk about it. Not necessarily tell the entire world or be super detailed, but writing music for me, and I know it is the same for a lot of people, even if you're being really poetic about it and hiding the real details under poetry or metaphors, you know what you're saying, and therefore you're getting it out. And getting it out is extremely important, because we all know this by now, hopefully, that bottling things up does nobody any good. Because you might feel better right now, but a year, 2 years, 10, 20 years later, that jar you're bottling things up in is going to explode, and everybody around you is going to be hit with the shrapnel. And I am living proof of that. I've made mistakes. I've been a duct-taped glass jar for a long time, and I never dealt with any of the things that I'd been through because there was always something new coming up. So, with that thought process, I was like, my earliest dream was to create music, to share my story in a way that's comfortable for me, in hopes of inspiring people the way that Chester Bennington inspired me. But regardless, I thought to myself for a bit at the beginning of this year, like, what if I've been doing the wrong things my entire life? I was making music as like a side thing for fun for a while, and learning how to mix and master, teaching myself to play guitar, learning how to create songs with decent structure and good soundscapes and stuff. But I wasn't really taking it seriously, despite the fact that it was the dream for me as a kid. And I've just been doing videos about art, videos about technology, videos about game, and just vlogs and stuff. And it made sense to me that I lost interest in all this stuff because it wasn't me. It was a part of me. But the forefront part of me, the biggest thing, the most important and intense part of me is music. And it's always been music. I can think back to being 11 years old, sitting on the carpet in foster care in my room with a tape recorder, beatboxing into that tape recorder to create something of a drum track. And then I remember rewinding it, playing it back, and rapping. Yes, I started out doing like hip-hop rap stuff in the early days before I had a computer that I could make music on. And sometimes I would put headphones on, I'd write a bunch of lyrics, and I would overdub that beatboxing with me rapping. As far as I knew back then, there was no internet to share that on. So I literally just had it on an audio cassette, and I would put it in its case and stick it on the shelf, and I would try to fill out an entire tape with my own little things. And sometimes I would it was cheesy, of course, but I would try to make instrument sounds with my mouth overdubbing over and over again. I have none of that stuff anymore. All that stuff was taken by the foster father. When I left, he stole everything from me. That's another topic for another day. Point is, I can remember any point in my life that is actually rememberable, and music was there. Me trying to make music, me singing music, me hunting down new music, me nerding out about a band or an instrument that I really wanted to have when I was older. And it's always been there. but I've always put it on the sideline because of the things that people said to me and the people around me growing up. That making music isn't a real job. Being a guitarist isn't a real job. Music is just a stupid, fun hobby, and it's not serious, and you'll never get anywhere with it no matter how hard you try, because you have to be rich or super special or like the prodigy to do anything with it. And that was in the days before now, where becoming a musician, like a successful musician on the internet, never having to play a live show, never really having to make merch to make money, like those things, as far as I knew, weren't around when I was a kid. But nowadays, it's actually possible to do something. Even if there was very little chance of me getting anywhere with it, I should have tried. And now I'm 32. And I'm finally realizing I've been starving myself of the most deep part of me my entire life. So at the beginning of this year, after thinking about this and really considering what the downfall could be of this, and also what the pros could be of this, I decided I want to focus on music. Not just making it off camera, but I want to do more videos about music stuff. And because of my budget, my tight restriction of finances, I want to try and focus on budget stuff. Stuff that you can do without spending money or spending very little money to get things done. And I have a lot of ideas, and I know that a lot of them have been done by other people before, but I have my own perspective on things. I have my own experiences, and so maybe I can share those experiences with the rest of the world, and maybe there's someone out there who might be subscribed to this channel already, who's been wanting to make music, but doesn't know where to start, or has really low-end equipment and thinks that they can't do anything with it. It's kind of a big change, but there's a reason why the channel is called the Virka Scale now. I mean, the scale isn't just a joke on dragons have scales. Music also has scales. I'm a dragon fanatic, and I love music. But I also wanted the name to not be specifically about music or specifically about art. I wanted it to feel like a scale of music where the notes in that scale are my different hobbies. So there will still be other things on the channel here and there. I might dip my toes back into art here and there. And the tutorials, I mean, I'm not unwilling to do them. I've just been having a lot of trouble drawing because of everything that's been going on for the last year or so. And I've felt pretty like art blocked for a while, and I'm trying to get a hang on it. It's coming back, but it's not quite back yet. Musically, I'm fine because I find it fairly easy to take the things that I'm feeling that are negative and turn them into a heavy metal riff or words that I can sing. That's never been... I mean, obviously I still have my art block when it comes to music, but it's not as often as, like, drawing. I get art block for drawing way more than I do for music. So the Virka scale, the scale here is music, like painting, drawing, technology stuff, so like going out and getting a cool lighting system or whatever and like programming it to do a thing, or you know, buying a bunch of electronic components and trying to make my own guitar pedal, or modify a cheap guitar amp that just needs new diodes or something to make it sound a little bit better, or just experimenting with random stuff, taking this guitar amp and this miniature guitar amp and seeing if I can't plug them into each other to get the weirdest sound or the most guttural gain ever. But that's what the Virka scale is. It's a scale of all the things that I love to do with an emphasis on music. I'll probably get back to the tutorials, like I said, again at some point. But right now, I need to focus on the thing that is most important to me, and that's music. Devin, no digging the blanket. Devin, no digging the blanket. I'm gonna get you. I'll get you with this off-brand root beer. That's what I thought, my boy. Anyways, that's kind of the changes, not just with the channel, but with me. There's been a lot of personal development going on ever since I was a kid, and that can be said for everybody. But that development has been on overdrive for the last 4 or 5 years. And I think I've only now finally realized what the universe has been trying to tell me my whole life, that I've been heading for the wrong goal. I knew deep in my heart which one was actually like the initial dream I always wanted, but I kept ignoring it. And now I'm not anymore. I understand if this new information might make some people want to unsubscribe because, it was an art channel. He's doing tutorials, and now that he's got 400 subscribers and he's growing, he's just like doing a complete 180. I get it. It's a big change, but honestly, it's a change I need to make. And as much as I don't want to upset anybody, and I still want to keep the promises of doing those tutorials and stuff, I want to do this for me. I need to do this for me. I need to think about myself first and foremost, but in a positive way. So if this upsets you and you're mad about me not putting a focus on digital and traditional art anymore, I do appreciate that being upset. But you need to understand that if I'm not happy doing what I'm doing, I'm not going to do it well. It's going to come out feeling rushed and uninspired, which is often what it did come out as. The few videos I did about making music, they were pretty uninspired. But I was kind of in that pocket of not really knowing, what I was doing really. More on an emotional side. It's like I'm making this music for a video. There is some inspiration behind why I'm making this song the way that I am, but there's this weird pocket in between it's for a video and I actually feel inspired to make this, and blending them together is really hard because a lot of the time when you're doing something just for the sake of making a video about it, it tends to be pretty stale, especially when it's like scripted and planned. But then there's the little bits of reactions and, I never expected this to happen, even though I'd planned the entire video out. This unexpected thing happened, so you get the occasional little organic reaction to something. But when I'm actually like inspired to make a song, I don't turn the camera on. I grab my guitar, I crank the speakers, and I start recording my ideas. I don't need to take a step to position a camera or whatever to record music. I just record it because the only thing that's important is the way it sounds. Looks have nothing to do with it, so I don't have to think about lighting, I don't have to think about camera position. And so making a video about actually creating music tends to take some of my focus away from the actual creation of the music and puts too much effort into making sure that it's enjoyable for someone to watch me do that. So I still need to figure that out. I've been working on my room, getting my Tinker desk set up, trying to find a way where I can permanently set up certain cameras in that tiny ass space so that when the mood strikes to make a song, all I have to do is turn the camera on and press record, and then I can go straight to doing everything else. And then I don't need to think about setting the tripod up, running this power cable, making sure it's in focus, the annoying part of making a video. This is now a forefront music channel with the occasional off-spread into other hobbies once in a while. In fact, perhaps most of the art videos will be shorts or full-length video tutorials about drawing, unless I find a really cool art supply that I really want to try out on camera again, for old time's sake. But overall, I'm a musician first and foremost. It is the thing that I am the most passionate about in the world, and if I want to be happy with my life, I need to let myself live in music as much as possible. And so here I am, in Iverica. If you want to listen to my music that I've made and released, there is a link in the description and in the comments to my channel where all my releases go. I'm still learning every day. I'm not like the most incredibly amazing mixing engineer or mastering engineer or musician as a whole, but I've been getting way better with every song that I do. And that can be said about any hobby. Do what you love. Do it as much as you can. Take breaks. You will improve as long as you follow those guidelines. Do the thing. Take breaks. Understand you are not the best yet. And keep going. Don't get frustrated at failure, because failure is a stepping stone on the way to success. Everybody fails at first, at second, at third, at fourth. You may fail hundreds of times, but with each of those failures, as long as you learned something, you didn't really fail. And with that, I've been Iverica. Remember to dream big, because there are no limits here. Dude, I almost fucking cried saying that. Holy shit. Ugh.